Hey there guys, Purple81 here. Today I wanted to go over some things with the 1911 and things you can do to speed up your break-in period and improve the overall function of your firearm. I recently posted a video where I was talking about some of the things that I had done to upgrade my Rock Island Armory Tactical, and after I posted that I got a lot of PMs asking me to explain in greater detail what exactly it was that I did to it. So that's what this video is going to be going over. I'm going to show you some tips and some little things that you can do before you start your break-in period that can help increase it, or speed it up, rather, dramatically. Now, before I get into any of this, anything that I show you, if you're not comfortable doing it, I would recommend not doing it and taking it to a gunsmith to have them do it, or somebody who modifies firearms. Myself being a gunsmith, these things that I'm going to show you really are not that difficult in my opinion. But again, if you are uncomfortable or you're questioning it, it's probably better just to not do it and have a professional do it for you, even if it is kind of expensive to do. Because most of this stuff is a little bit time consuming. It's not difficult, but it probably will cost you a little bit to have someone do it. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it. Alright, first off, this stuff is going to be more specifically geared towards the 1911 and more specifically geared towards the Rock Island Armory 1911. Now, some of this stuff is going to cross over to handguns in general and firearms in general, but some of this is going to be very, like I said, very specific towards this platform. So basically what I did is when you first get these 1911s, Rock Island uses a Parkerized Finish on their firearms, and you can kind of see that on the inside here, on the inside of the frame. The entire firearm is covered in this, outside and inside. Basically the only places that it is not is, let me get you a shot here. You see where it's real shiny in there? That's on the feed ramp, and basically what they do is they just remove that little portion of the parkerization on the feed ramp, and then they also remove it on the throat or the barrel. Now granted, this is after I've done stuff to it. Let me get you a better picture there. Basically all around the throat of the barrel here. They remove it from there as well. But the downside is that it is literally everywhere else. It's all over the inside of your slide. It's all over the inside of your frame. The entire barrel is covered in it. The whole thing. This has all been removed. Every part literally is covered with that parkerization. Now the bad thing about that is parkerization is very porous, and it also has a lot of texture to it. Now anybody who knows anything about firearms knows that once you start shooting, if the interior of the firearm has a surface coating that, or surface texture like that, that is porous and stuff wants to stick to it, you are asking for trouble. Because once you start to get a heavy carbon buildup, you get buildup of gun lubricants, debris, all that kind of stuff. It'll wreak havoc on you. Now, as I said in my past video, if you haven't seen that on the upgrades that I've done to this, that was one of the first things I wanted to address, because this is kind of it's a lower end 1911, and I didn't really feel like spending the 500 rounds of 45 ACP to get it to that break-in period. So I figured that I would just do some things to it that was a little bit more labor intensive, but didn't really cost much, in order to cut that break-in period in half, which it has. And it ended up improving the functionality of the firearm overall greatly, and I'll show you exactly what I did. First things first, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to basically remove any of that parkerization that's going to be in places that you're going to have a lot of friction, or that you're going to get a lot of carbon buildup and debris. So you can pretty much just start with the barrel. That's where I started. What you're going to need, a few things. Get some of this, doesn't necessarily have to be 3M, get something that's about 1,000 grit sandpaper. This wet dry, this is more for like automotive use, but you can use it for this. It's perfect for it. Get a pack of that, or a couple packs, it might take you, and then sand all of this down. You can use different things, like you can take a Dremel and you can get sandpaper that is that grit, to to make it a little bit quicker for you, but I did mine by hand just because I didn't want to run the risk of messing anything up. And I removed all of the parkerization with the exception of the 2 sections that you hear that are in the locking lugs. I wasn't really too worried about that. But basically go over the entire barrel and remove all that. Take all of that off. Sand all of the parkerization off. And then once you do that, take some of this. This is Flitz metal polish. And your Dremel tool with a buffing tip. And you can get one of these guys. This is a cleaning and polishing kit for Dremel tools for, $10-12, something like that. It's not that expensive. And then go over all the parts that you've done that to. Every part that you've removed the parkerization, that's kind of step 1. Step 2, take some of that Flitz metal polish and polish everything up. So that way you got a nice, perfectly even, smooth surface. You don't have any kind of divots or scratches or anything like that. Everything's very slick. And then if you do happen to have it, which I would highly recommend, get some frog lube and heat treat. Go through the whole process of heating the component up, frog lubing it, letting it cool, wiping it down, and do that multiple times so you get a good impregnation of that frog lube in the metal itself as well. Now once you've done all that, then the piece is essentially done, in my opinion. You've removed all of that porous material from the surface. It's been polished and buffed up and then frog lubed. Now what I did is I did that to the barrel. You can see on the bushing here, I removed it from the inside where you're going to get a lot of movement or friction. This is a recoil spring plug. I removed it from that as well. Guide rod, that's a real important one. Do the same thing to this because you're going to have that friction from the inside of the spring riding on this. So that's another one you want to make sure you pay attention to. The inside of the slide, the only part on here that you really have to worry about a whole lot, at least in my opinion, is the surface of the rails right here, this flat portion, and then you want to kind of try to get inside the channel there. Now this can be kind of challenging. You got to really make sure that you've got the right kind of tools to get inside there to remove all of that parkerization and then buff it out. But it can be done. So you want to remove that as well. And then as far as the frame goes, basically this whole top portion, and especially on the feed ramp and right in here, because if you think about it, when that barrel comes in here, this is where you're getting a lot of that friction. Let me show you this part right here. This is all going to be rubbing. So you want to make sure that you get all of that as well, all up in this area, and then get the rails themselves too, just like you did on the slide. So once you've done that to all of these places, you've removed all of that parkerization, you've buffed everything out, you frog lubed it, you're really going to be good to go. This is going to greatly improve the functionality of the gun. You're going to be amazed at the difference of just, especially if you're going from pulling it out of the box, it's brand spanking new, doing all this, and then seeing what it feels like once you reassemble is like night and day. Now, granted, I did do some other things, like I did a trigger job and all that. I'll save that for another video. This is kind of just more of the initial stuff that you can do to speed up your break-in period. Honestly, I would say after doing this, you still do have to go through a little bit of a break-in period. That's just kind of, you can't really get away from that. And I'm not advocating, doing this and then considering your weapon broken in. You still need to get some range time in on it, loosen up the springs and everything like that. But once you do this, and especially some of the stuff that I'm not showing here is all the smaller components that are inside here. You're talking about the disconnector, the sear, the ejector, all of that. All these tiny components that are inside here, if you break that down, clean them off real well, and then take some of that same automotive sandpaper and just kind of go over it and make sure that you don't have any burrs or anything anywhere. That's going to help as well. Because normally what happens, especially if it's something that's kind of like a lower end like this, in the machining process, some smaller things can kind of be missed. And that's all, honestly, that's a lot of what you're paying for the higher end 1911s is that attention to detail. So some of those little things are going to kind of be missed in these lower end 1911s. So if you take the time to do that to make sure that everything is quote unquote deburred, that's going to aid you in that break-in period as well, and the overall reliability and performance of the 1911. I think that's probably about it. If you have any kind of questions, I know I really just sort of blew through this real quick. If I missed something or I wasn't real clear, which I have a tendency to do sometimes, just ask me. I am more than happy to get back with you on it as soon as I possibly can. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. Prepper Marine 81 out.